Oh,
For a variety of reasons, very few people actually like to shovel snow. But perhaps the best reason to not want to do it is it's actually the physical activity that causes more heart attacks in the US than any other physical activity. That's right, shoveling your snow causes more heart attacks than any other type of physical activity. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We may not have to do this anymore, and that's because of robotics and AI. Companies are starting to come out with robotic devices that will actually plow or snow blow your driveway for you. And I have one right here. This one's made by Yarbo. I put out a video a couple of weeks ago of it doing my driveway during the last snowstorm, and it did a very good job. But here today, and you may be able to tell, it's just starting to snow here in northern New Jersey. We are predicted to get what they're calling a snowfall of historic proportions for this area. They're predicting somewhere between 16 and 26 inches of snow. It very rarely snows more than 2 feet of snow in this area. In my entire lifetime, I only remember that happening a handful of times. So this could be a historic type of a snowfall. And it's supposed to snow for about 24 hours. It's just starting here now. And I'm going to put the Yarbo to the test, because if it can handle this type of snowfall here, well, of course, if we get as much snow as they're predicting, there's also supposed to be like 45 to 50 mile an hour winds. If it's as bad as they're saying it's going to be, this is about the best type of a test that I can put this thing to. Now, I have a very large driveway. It's over 300 feet long. It's about 6,000 square foot of surface area, and it did a very good job in my previous storms, but this has the potential to be worse than anything that this has ever been tested in, at least here in my driveway. I got it all charged up to 100%. And we're going to see how well it does in this significant snowstorm. Even if it doesn't get as bad as they're saying, if we don't get over 2 feet of snow, it's going to be a very significant snowfall. We'll see how well the unit does, and we'll record some video while it's doing its job and then do a summary once it's done. I'll let you know if I'm satisfied with the results. Let's get into it. So if you've watched any of my previous Yarbo snowblower videos, I've mentioned that you don't just take this unit out of the box and boom, it's ready to go. There's a lot of programming, and even once you've programmed it and outlined the work area that you want it to do, you're still going to tweak it from time to time, make it do a little bit better. You'll learn more about the unit. One of the things I learned was this safety cage on the front here is these 4 bars that go across the front. Most owners take it off. And I actually talked to Yarbo about that and said, you know, is it okay if I remove this? And they actually said, yeah, go right ahead, especially if it's going to be a very heavy, wet snowfall. Because what can happen if the snow is very heavy and wet and it's easy to pack, it might pack in front of this, and then this becomes a plow instead of taking the snow in for the augers to spin it up into the impeller so it throws it out. This is a 2-stage unit. It does have the augers down below and the impeller up here to throw the snow out. And it throws it far. It throws it like 40 feet. So I'm going to remove this cage because I don't want it bunching up. We're supposed to get 2 to 3 inches of snow per hour. So I'm afraid that it's going to get too high too fast and end up bunching up in front of the unit. It's only about 33 degrees here today. When I reviewed the unit the last time and it did the snow, it was really cold. It was down close to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's about 30 degrees warmer here today. And what we're going to get is heavy, wet packing snow today. It's not going to be dry, fluffy powder. So I'm going to take this guy off here now and let it run through this storm without this guard on the front. You remove it by removing the 3 screws on each side. You use the supplied Allen key. So I'm going to take those off now. Okay, so this guard is off now, and I think it's going to give it a lot better of a chance with the type of snow that we're going to get in this snowfall.
Today's video is sponsored by EVChargingStations.com.
If you drive an electric vehicle or you're planning to, this site is packed with comprehensive charger reviews, detailed DC fast charging graphs, and the latest news from all of the fast charging networks. You'll find real-world testing, easy-to-understand comparison, and deep dives into how different electric vehicles actually charge. Before you buy an EV charger or plan your next road trip, make sure to bookmark evchargingstations.com and make smarter charging decisions. I sent the Yarbo out at about 8 p.m. once there was about 2 inches of snow on the ground. The way the programming works is you walk the perimeter of the area you want cleared and select either a circular or parallel work plan, and the unit calculates its route. I selected a parallel work plan for this storm because for the last storm I used the circular plan, and I wanted to see the difference. The work plan the unit devised called for it to drive twice down to the bottom of the driveway and clear the driveway apron a bit before returning up to the landing that you see here by the garage to clear that area. After just about 1 hour of work, the Yarbo returned to the charging dock to recharge. It will do that once the state of charge reaches 15%. It will then charge up to 80% and enter the driveway again to complete the task. During the night, I kept an eye on the Yarbo going up and down the driveway many times from one of our second floor windows. I then went out to check on it when it was starting out after recharging the second time. Now by then, the snow was coming down really hard and piling up faster than the Yarbo could really keep up with it. Now I'm glad I removed that cage from front earlier because I could see how the snow was already bunching up in front of the augers. I'm sure if I left it on, it would have created a problem with the snow packing up in front of the unit and ultimately stopping it. But the Yarbo kept on going, and I went back inside to get some sleep. After watching it just plow through everything in its path, I went to sleep pretty confident that it was actually going to be able to handle this extreme storm. All right, so it's the next day. We still have a little bit of flurries going on here, but for the most, the storm is gone. We got in all about 13 inches. That's the official snowfall for this area here. But with my property, the way I'm up on a hill, I get a lot of snow drifts, and there's drifts in the driveway that I measured to be about 19 inches. So we got hammered with a really wet, heavy snowfall. This was one of those bomb cyclone nor'easters that the eastern seaboard got hit with. The whole Northeast is really getting hammered with this. We're a little inland here in Chester, so we didn't get it quite as bad as some of the shore communities, but we still got hit pretty hard. I just had to manually walk the Yarbo back to its charging dock. That's right, the Yarbo had to do the walk of shame. And that's because it was defeated by this snowstorm. It actually performed pretty well most of the night. For the first 5 or 6 hours of this storm, it was holding its own, going back and forth, clearing the driveway, going to its pad, charging up. Then I think it was around 3 in the morning, I got a notification on my phone that there was a problem. The chute was clogged. So I got up and went out and unclogged the chute and then turned it back on and immediately got clogged again, and it was just going back and forth and it really couldn't do anything. So I actually walked it back up to the charging pad at that point. The battery state of charge was getting pretty low, and cleared out the chute really well, let it charge again, and then said, all right, we'll take this up in the morning. And then at like 6 o'clock, I got up right around when it was starting to get daylight, and we started it out again. And it functioned pretty well for the first pass. But then when it went back to its charging dock, now it started to warm up as the day went on, and the snow was starting to melt. And we're getting this layer of slush underneath the snow. 6, 7, 8 inches of snow with an inch of slush between the snow and the driveway. and the Yarbo just couldn't do it. It just kept clogging the chute. I kept getting auger overcurrent warnings. I kept coming out, clearing the chute. It would run for 15 minutes or so, then it would get stuck again. So I'm calling it over. I'm throwing in the white towel on this storm. I found the storm that the Yarbo couldn't complete my driveway in. It's been good so far. This was the 4th snow event that it did the driveway, but it's tapping out on this one. And I knew there'd be a limit of what it could do and how much snowfall per hour and so forth, but this was the limit. This was the one that it couldn't do. So let's walk the driveway and I'll show you what it did do. And then I'm going to finish the driveway myself with my battery-powered Ego snowblower. So I'm going to turn the phone around and we'll walk through the driveway. All right, here's the Yarbo here. As you can see up here, you can see that's about 12, 13 inches there. It made this first path around here on its last time around, but then it went down to the driveway. You could see here, this is about 8 inches here. It did the top here 3 times. So even after 3 full events, it still has about 8 inches of snow there. You can see on this side here, that's probably about 13 inches, 14 inches. You might, I'm not sure if you could see it. Could you see the paths? Because it was going crisscross this way. Right there. You might be able to see the ripples in the snow from the last time it did. Now, in front of the garage, that's clear. And that's because I shoveled that right in front of the garage. The Yarbo can't go right up into the garage. When I programmed it, if I took it right up against the garage, it was losing its GPS signal. So I programmed the driveway for it to do about 3 feet away from the garage. So I had to come out and shovel that, and I threw it out into the Yarbo's path. But everything else, it did. Let's take a walk down. Okay, we'll take a look up here at the house. It cleared all this here. And now you'll see it did a better job on the long part of the driveway than it did on the landing. Although I think if I would start it up now, it could probably do this because it's not that deep. But it can't get done down here. This is where it keeps getting stuck, coming up this hill here where there's a lot of slush underneath the snow. So you can see here the paths that it took. That's a solid 10 inches that's left there now, and it's already starting to like melt and go down. Cleared this area out pretty good. And then right here is where it ended. It was trying to come up the driveway. You could see how it came up here and did this, but then when it got to here, this is right where it ended. You could see this slush here on the bottom of the snow. It's just, this is what was just clogging it up. I mean, you might be able to see the bottom of the snow. It's just all slush on the bottom, and it just kept clogging the chute. So it didn't quite get this last section here. And in the middle here, this was all part of the program that it didn't get to. And you could see all the blacktop because it warmed up today and it's melting, and that's part of the problem. If it stayed cold and it was more powdery, it definitely would have been able to do it. But this thick, slushy stuff, you see this here? That's what was killing it. Now the very bottom of the apron, it didn't do. It only does about 3 feet to the end of the street here, right around here is where it does. This here, I came out with my snowblower earlier and did it because it was such a high mound of slush. I didn't want the Yarbo to get stuck on it. So I just came down, cleared this out here. But it did everything else. It did this, the rest of the apron here. It didn't do this here. I cleared this out because I want to be able to reach my mailbox. Let me clear this off while we're here. So here it is. This is what she did, but couldn't finish the job. It was too much. The nor'easter bomb cyclone of 2026 knocked the Yarbo out. Couldn't handle it. I'm really not surprised because this was a pretty extraordinary storm for us here in New Jersey. We don't get storms this bad that often. But even considering, it's not terrible. I could drive down it now if I wanted to, and I'm sure the rest is going to melt because it's going to warm up later in the week. But I'm going to pull out my Ego snowblower now and just finish this stuff off. And then we'll do a little wrap up inside where it's warmer, and I'll give you my thoughts on how the Yarbo did in this storm and what I think went wrong. All right, well, I've had a little time to think about Yarbo's performance, and first off, I want to say that it was definitely the correct move to remove that cage from the front. I think that it would have just created problems and had the snow just packing up in front of the unit. As it already was packing up in front of the unit, and the Yarbo had to frequently stop, back up, and then attack the pile of snow. But it did it fine. It realized when the snow was bunching up in front of it and it was getting harder and harder to push, it'll back off, clear the chute, back up a little bit, and then go right into it again. It did that multiple times that I observed, so it must have done it a lot during the session, but it was handling it just fine. And don't forget, I really can't stress enough the point that I have a very big driveway. It's 6,000 square feet. It's over 300 feet long. The house sits about 35 to 40 feet higher than the street. So coming up the driveway, that's like a 15 to 70% slope. And that made it difficult. And that's actually when the Yarbo had difficulty. It never clogged. It never stopped going down the hill. Every time it had a problem, it was coming up to the house. So that extra strain on the motors, I guess, was just enough to sap enough strength out of it so that it couldn't throw the slush through the chute. So that's something to consider. I am sure if I had a more normal sized driveway, 25 by 40 feet, 1,000 square foot driveway, that's kind of like a typical size driveway. I'm sure this would have been able to handle even this storm without a problem. But that's why I agreed to review this unit, really was because I knew my property was going to stress it and really have a great test. And so far it passed every test I threw at it. This is the first time it wasn't able to complete the task. And I mean, this was a very, very difficult storm, but still it was not able to complete it. As you could see that the chute just kept getting clogged up at the end. It really wasn't getting clogged up for the first 5 or 6 hours that it was working as the snow was falling, and it was more powdery type snow, even though none of this was really powdery. It was wet from the beginning, but it got more wet as the evening went on. It got more sleet-like, and then when the temperatures warmed up and it started melting, that was all. It just couldn't do it. I have to say there's a couple things that I really do love about this unit. Number one, the Smart Vision gives you like a ground view of the unit as it's going. You can enable it through the app and turn on the cameras. It has 4 cameras. You can click between the front, the rear, and either side camera. So you can see exactly where the Yarbo is at any given time. And I thought that was really cool. I found myself clicking on it a lot and just watching it and just kind of staring at it as it was just driving down the driveway and blowing the snow. I think that's a great feature. And it has a really good app. There's a lot of different settings that you can adjust how the snow gets thrown, the direction of the chute, the angle of the chute, the angle of the auger. There's so many things that you can program. It does take a while to tweak everything and get it just right. I'm still tweaking it. This is after 4 storms. I'm still going to go back in there and change some things because I think there's some things that I can optimize and make it do even better. And also, one of the things that's great is it gives you the work plan in a map, and you can watch the unit complete the task, go back and forth and complete the task. It's really a cool thing, and it has other data. It has the state of charge, the remaining work area, its progress percentage, and all of that's really important data for you to take a look at. So, I mean, Yarbo did a great job with the app. I love the app. I keep finding new things in it. There's so many different things that you can tweak and change and view. You can set a geofence so that if somebody were to steal the Yarbo, they can't use it if it's outside of your property. And you could always locate it with the app. Wherever it is, you could just look at the app and see where it is. So while somebody can steal this, and I had some people in my previous video say, well, what good is that? It sits outside in the middle of the night. Someone's going to come and steal it. First of all, it's really heavy. It weighs about 250 pounds. But as I said, you geofence it, and it just can't be used outside of your property. So, I mean, it doesn't do you a lot of good if it's gone and somebody took it, but you can locate it. So that's also a good feature. But also depends where you live. Where I live out here, there's a very low probability that it might get stolen. It's a very rural area. Everything's really spread out. And that gives me another advantage. I can just let the unit run all night. I don't have to worry about bothering neighbors. If your house was 50 feet from your neighbor's house, it might be a problem letting this run all night, because that's how you really let the Yarbo snowblower work. You turn it on when there's a couple inches of snow, and you just let it clear the driveway, go back to the charging pad, recharge, go back out, work again, and just keep doing it until the storm's over. You don't wait like you would with a regular snowblower until everything's done, then go out there and do it once and you're done. No, this thing just needs to continue to work and work. Now, if you're only getting like 5 inches of snow or 6 inches of snow, you probably could wait till the end and then just let it do everything at once. But I would still turn it on maybe an hour or two before the storm was supposed to end, so it just kind of gets a jump on it. But it's an interesting piece of technology, and I think that's something that we have to get used to. We're going to have more and more robotic technology, AI-powered, autonomous things in our lives, helping us with kind of mundane physical tasks that we don't want to do. And this is a great use of it. So I think it was really interesting. Now, would I buy one of these? I don't know. Now, this unit was sent to me to do the reviews, so I didn't pay for it. And I'm not getting paid to do any reviews or whatever. That's the company. It's kind of standard. The companies will send you a unit to review, and no strings attached. You can do and say whatever you want. I'd have to think about that, because this is expensive. It costs $5,000. That's for the Yarbo core and the snowblower attachment, because that's how the Yarbo system works. Yarbo has a suite of attachments. The snowblower is just one. You can get the lawnmower attachment, there's a leaf blower attachment, there's a trimmer attachment, and I am going to get the lawnmower attachment and do a review of that in the spring, because I have a good-sized property here, almost 2 acres of grass to cut. So we're going to do that. If it works well doing the lawn, as well as I believe it works clearing the snow, then I think I would buy it. I think it's worth it, because I can have it cutting the lawn, saving the money in the summer, and then doing the driveway in the winter, clearing it with the snowblower attachment. I don't know if I would spend the $5,000 it cost if it was just the snowblower attachment. It's pretty expensive, but a good snowblower these days is about $2,000. And then you have to do it yourself. So you've got to do the math, and you also have to figure out, what your budget is and what your time is worth for you. So I think for somebody that maybe had a medium-sized driveway, 1,000 to 2,000 square feet, and didn't want to do the physical activity and had the finances to do it, I think it's probably a worthwhile investment, because with a smaller driveway like that, the thing would be able to handle, I think, any snow event, pretty much anything. If you turned it on, even if it was 2 feet of snow, if you turn it on when it starts and just let it continue to go, if you didn't have a big heavy slope like I had, because I think that's really what did it in. The combination of having to do this, 15 to 70% slope with the slush, I think that's really what did it, because as I said earlier, I found it really interesting that it never clogged on the way down. Even going through that same slushy slop that it was going on the way up, it was interesting that it never clogged on the way down. So another thing I want to talk about is charging time and run time. Depending on how difficult the task is, the unit will run for a different amount of time. Like in some of my previous times I've used it, it ran for about 1 hour and 20 minutes before it had to go back to the charging dock. In this storm, that was a really stressful storm where it was heavy, wet snow. It only ran for about 50 minutes to 1 hour, so less than that. Then it takes about 1.5 hours to recharge. And it recharges from the low point that you set. I set 15%. That's as low as you can set it to charge. It has to go back to the dock and it'll go back to the dock by itself. But the lowest you could set that at is at 15% state of charge. You don't want to do a deep discharge with lithium-ion batteries in any lithium-ion battery application. Even electric cars, for instance, it's not good for the battery to do really deep discharges. So Yarbo has it set so at 15%, it's got to go back to the charging dock. And you can only charge it to 80% during a work cycle. Now, when it's over and it goes back to the pad and it doesn't have an active work cycle, it'll charge up to 100%. So you'll start the session with 100%, but during the work progress, 15 to 80% is the most you can have of the battery. And that's for long battery life, because lithium-ion batteries don't like constant deep discharges or 100% charge cycles. And there's another reason also. With all lithium-ion batteries, they'll charge relatively quickly up to 80%, but then they charge slower as the state of charge increases. So Yarbo sets that 80% limit because it's going to charge a lot slower from 80% to 100%. In the end, I'm still impressed with the unit. I think it's a fantastic tool, and I'm happy that I have it. I'm going to continue to use it. We're supposed to get another snow event in about a week, depending on how deep it is. Maybe I'll put out another video. I like to give people the opportunity to take a look at how it performs in different types of snow events, the type of snow, the depth of snow. And so far, it seems like there's a lot of interest in this. My videos seem to be performing very well. I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of questions about it. So, hey, I'll keep putting out these autonomous snowblower videos if you guys find it interesting. And if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.